A few days ago, I was thinking about a couple of ways to progress my Romanian deadlifts, because the way that I'm progressing most exercises right now is to start with 2 sets as soon as I have increased the weight, and then I am progressing these through rep range that I deem appropriate and reasonable, of course. And I kind of thought about that again while I was doing my pin presses today. Last week I did 9 reps on the first set, and this week here I was kind of stuck at the same point. Because I am thinking that I would like to progress these pin presses between an 8 to 12 rep range, so slowly going up towards 12 repetitions, at least in the first set. The time when I am going to be adding a third set is probably most suitable when I am struggling with reaching or actually increasing my first set from the previous session while I'm still working through the rep range. So what I mean by this is that since I'm struggling to go up 1 rep from session to session while still being within the rep range that I have given myself, it sounds like a good idea to be adding a third set at that point. In that way, I am not really losing on extra volume that I should be trying and accruing by session, and it gives me a perfect opportunity to add the third set, which I was going to be doing anyways. So that's what I did, and I think that it's a pretty smart solution to a problem that is going to happen at some point. It happened today on the pin presses. It's going to happen at another day with something else. I'm sure of that. The other session, while I was thinking about this, I was doing good work on the Romanian deadlift, so I didn't really feel like I needed to add a third set because I was able to add a couple of repetitions on both the sets that I performed. But even in here on these barbell bicep curls, they were kind of tough, so I added a 1 rep on top of what I did last week, but again, I won't be able to do it all the time. So this is also good in the sense that if I was to be adding, following the same progression for most of the exercises, I would kind of be adding a third set on top of each exercise from one session to the next, which would actually bring the volume up dramatically throughout the entire session. So it's good that if I'm struggling a bit with the lift in particular on one session, just adding an extra set with a few more reps should be a good idea, and not increase the overall volume of the session too much. And this is also something that I've done for my upcoming hip thrust sets, even if it's for a slightly different reason, because I was still able to add a repetition on both the sets that I performed, but because I felt like this is it's a heavy isolation exercise, it doesn't really tax the nervous system as much as other exercises do, something like the high pulls or even the neutral grip pull-ups that I'm doing in between the hip thrust sets in a kind of a superset fashion, just to give myself a break between these two exercises. The hip thrust I was able to do for 12 reps in the first set, 11 in the second one, and then I just threw a third set with a bunch more. It was just 5, and because I was also pushing a bit more than last week on this set here of neutral grip pull-ups, I finally got to 14 repetitions, and I was pretty gassed at that point. But given enough rest, I didn't really feel like adding an extra 5 repetitions on the hip thrust was going to be destroying me anyways. The only thing that I feel I need to be kind of careful about, or at least mindful of, is the fact that on the hip thrust, if I am despite me trying to control each repetition as best as I can, there is going to be some time when I am not really able to keep the bar perfectly level with the floor. So there's going to be one side that touches the floor a bit earlier than the other one, and that could be throwing off a few repetitions. Not that I risk getting injured, but it is extra stuff to be thinking about, especially as the weights go up, which I'm ensuring is not going to happen anytime soon, because the progression that I've devised should be taking care of that. This is the last small set that I did with the hip thrust, just a few more repetitions, and also gets me in the loop of thinking about getting a third set in, which I will be slowly progress with the others. And it also gives me an extra opportunity to just add 1 rep, maybe in the third set, which is a bit easier, and at least progress something. Ciao!